Today we're talking to David Howard. David is a retired professional football player who played as a linebacker from 1984 to 1992. David, feel free to jump in if I mess anything up, by the way. In his time with the National Football League, David has played for the Minnesota Vikings, Dallas Cowboys, New England Patriots. David is the founder and CEO of Empower Me Corp., which has provided 18 years of service in supporting adults and school-age students with autism and learning disabilities. He is also the founder of Urban Village Family Services and Stop 6 Reality. Where did you grow up? I know you're living in Texas now.
I'm originally from Long Beach, California.
You started in Oregon, though, is that correct? And then you went back to Long Beach?
Yeah, my freshman year, I was recruited to play at Oregon State. After a year, I started as a freshman, and we had a coaching change. And from the coaching change, I decided that I wanted to go back, which was my second choice, Long Beach State.
So you went back home to play.
Yes.
And then you were drafted, but you weren't drafted by the NFL. You were drafted by the USFL.
Yes.
Which is actually pretty interesting. I was a fan of the USFL when it first came out. I grew up in New Jersey with the New Jersey's Generals.
Yes.
So having a football team with New Jersey on it, even though the Giants and the Jets really play in New Jersey, but we won't get into that.
Yes.
So and you played with Los Angeles, and so you stayed home and played USFL. Did that help in your determination on where to play? Is that why you chose the USFL?
Yeah, well, actually, the USFL, I was a territorial pick. Usually back in those days, they had territorial picks. So I was one of the territorial picks and for the Los Angeles Express in 84. And then in 85, we had a supplemental. In 84, we also had a supplemental draft that year for the NFL. And I was taken on the third round to the Minnesota Vikings.
So you played 2 years with the USFL?
Yes.
What was that experience like? I mean, I know the crowds were in some places, I think LA and New Jersey, I know the crowds were pretty big. But in some places you went to, it was like a ghost town to play, right?
Well, I tell you, the experience, it was awesome because it was one of my childhood dreams to play professional football in the USFL. We had a lot of NFL players that was crossing over to the USFL, and it was pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Steve Young was our quarterback. We had a lot of talent on that team. We had about 30 guys crossed over and had nice careers in the NFL. As far as stadium size, the crowds was so small to where you could hear somebody taking orders, and you could say, "Hey, bring me some popcorns or a drink back," and you can hear them.
Right. I love the league. I would love to see something like that come back, and they did it right. They played.
Yes.
And during a different time of the year than the NFL played, so
Right.
You had both. You had football all year round. Them trying to switch it. So, what made you cross over? Was it when the USFL closed? I don't remember the dates.
Yes, the USFL had they were going to go against the NFL and rival during the season, and we had an antitrust lawsuit. We won it for $1, but we couldn't compete with the NFL, so. The territorial picks became the picks for the NFL supplemental draft, and my draft choice, my draft team was the Minnesota Vikings. So my contract was picked up by the Minnesota Viking in the the summer of '85.
So then you went over to NFL. Now you have real NFL crowds.
Yes.
What was the difference there? Was that a huge difference for you?
Actually, it wasn't. I would say the athleticism part wasn't different. What the main difference in the NFL is that you had more seasoned veterans. People have been around for years. You playing against some of your childhood dreams. I got a chance to play against Earl Campbell, Chuck Muncie, so that was really cool. The difference, I would say, was just the knowledge of the game.
Yeah. That's got to be incredible. But then you talk about you play with Steve Young, and that's other people's probably people are going to be watching this. That's their growing up, that was their favorite player. So you played with from Minnesota. You went to Dallas. How was that? That has to be incredible playing for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that was incredible. What wasn't incredible was the way that we were traded. We were traded in the old Herschel Walker trade. He got the most credit for it, but it was me. And it seems like about 80 other guys that got traded for the compensatory picks. And myself, Isaac Hope, Jesse Solomon, Stewart, and Darren Nelson. But they parlayed those draft picks into more trade. So it was awesome getting the opportunity to play with the Dallas Cowboys because they were actually my childhood favorite team. And being able to come to Dallas is where I met my wife in Irving, Texas. Yeah, so that was beautiful in itself. But it was a great experience. It was wonderful.
So you played with Herschel, and I remember that, going back to the USFL, and I think that was probably one of the biggest drafts out of college to the USFL was Herschel Walker.
Yeah, he was a marquee name.
Yeah, so that got that rolling. So a couple years in Dallas, was it like 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, in Dallas, it was kind of weird. In Dallas, I was 2 seasons, and that was the only time in my career that I really didn't get a chance to start because the pick was tied to conditional playing time was tied to picks in the draft, and so I got a chance to play the second and the fourth quarter.
And then we move on. You went on to New England
Yes.
Patriots.
Yes.
And who was the quarterback at the time when you played?
Hugh Millen was our quarterback. Hugh Millen.
So out of those are some great teams you played with. Minnesota, I mean, great fan base out of Minnesota. Dallas, of course,
Yes.
huge. New England. I think probably at the time New England didn't have the fan base it has now because
Right.
when you're winning, you grow a fan base. But out of all of those years, we're looking at 9 seasons in the NFL and then
Yes.
2 in the USFL.
Yes.
If you had to pick a favorite season, what would it be? Not just based on your stats, but just if you met your wife, of course, that's probably your favorite year right there.
Yeah.
So, but aside from that, what was your favorite year in the NFL?
I would have to
Or
say
USFL?
my rookie season because it really was it was magical because I felt like I had arrived. I'm in the National Football League with the Minnesota Vikings, and it was an awesome experience. So that season stuck out with me because it was a foundation for the years to come until my retirement in '93, and it was just awesome experience.
Who was your favorite co-player, maybe not on your team or to play against? Who was the one person you look forward to playing with or against every season?
It was amazing. My roommate was Anthony Carter, so I would say Anthony Carter was the most. I would say the great opportunity to play against someone who had rich tradition with the Wolverines in Michigan, and actually to be roommates with him for 5.5 seasons was awesome.
So switching gears just a little bit, and that's a great career. I mean, that's like you said, that's every childhood's dream to play in the NFL and USFL too. I mean, that was I really liked that league. I wish that stuck around and made it. That was good, but. So I would imagine, going from, what was it, Pop Warner you played as a kid?
Yes.
And going into high school and going into college, then going into the USFL and going to the NFL. How many injuries did you have? You had to have been beat up.
You know what? Actually, I was pretty healthy throughout my career, knock on wood. I was blessed not to have any major surgeries playing professional football. I think the worst injury I had was a hyperextended elbow and, some high ankle sprains, but I never had a surgery to actually a month ago.
Yeah, what was it a month ago?
I had a knee replacement, a full left knee replacement, but it was accumulation of the AstroTurf, playing the game, taking on blocks, and just the wear and tear.
And and as a player like that, of course, you guys, like I said, you guys get beat up way more than I have in my lifetime, aside from, the substance abuse or whatever I did to my body. So you had the ankles, the elbow thing, and then the ankle sprains or strains, and then a knee thing. But how did you deal with it then? How did you deal with that pain?
I was pretty much pain free where I didn't have to take any medicine until the end of my career. I started suffering with the Minnesota Viking as I was leaving there after my 5th season. I started developing a left turf toe injury. And once I went to Dallas, we were doing different treatments every day, to help me get on the field and play at a certain level that I needed to. But the injuries that I had as far as the turf toe, the medicine is prescribed was naproxen. And naproxen was one that it would pretty much mask the injury and get you through those pains where you can tolerate the pain. But the day after of it, the come down from it was crazy. But naproxen was the prescription meds that I had was prescribed.
And that brings us to not a good subject, but maybe a touchy subject, is that a lot of players are prescribed things, and a lot of times it's for painkillers, it's narcotics or it's opioids or it's. Did
Yes.
you see a lot of it? Did you see a lot of addiction in the league?
Um, yeah, I saw some, and then I had to make sure that I didn't become a victim of the addicted to the medicine, because I would take a few before the game, and then I would take some after the game, and it became a cycle, and then you get dependent upon them. And unfortunately, that was one of the reasons I had to retire, because the injury had been masked so much until the off season. I couldn't train the way I wanted to train because actually I needed surgery, and it was masked by the prescription drugs.
Do you think that's a big problem in the NFL, that they're just masking the injuries instead of
Yes,
fixing them?
yes. Being that we're young gentlemen at the time and we want to carry out our childhood dreams to play on that level, and you do what you have to do to get on the field to keep your job and your lifestyle. And unfortunately, some of us fall victim to prescription drugs.
Now, was it easy for you to stop? Did you have to seek treatment? Or do you just say, hey, there's enough of this, I'm just not going to take it?
The main thing for me was to be able to recognize that it was something that if I kept going, that it was going to be bigger than that I could handle. So I addressed the training staff about it. And as soon as I got taken off the pills, I could no longer play at that level or compete because the pain was just too much.
It's smart.
Yes.
And as you know, and as I've learned just from doing these interviews, some aren't so lucky. They continue that road, and
Yes.
hopefully they find the help.
Right. My awakening call was, after hearing about Mr. Walter Payton and him passing away from a liver injury or liver disease, and pretty much I was taking the same thing, and I just was like, oh, this is it for me.
Wow. Yeah. And then the other big thing, we had the concussion lawsuits, things like that. Do you think that that's better now? Do you think that the way they play now, and as hard as they hit now, I mean, they've always hit hard. You guys have always hit hard. But do you think that's been addressed correctly?
I think as far as the rules on the field, when it comes to the new collective bargaining agreement, as far as the way that you play the game, yes, I can see that it has helped in mainly in the practicing. Like in training camp, we were going 9 weeks, 3 times a day in training camp, full speed for so many years. Now, they don't put on shoulder pads and helmets probably once a week, and during the season, they never go full pad. So I can see a difference in the preparation, and then the rules for cutback blocks or blindside blocks, or even just in kickoffs, making sure that they line up at the 25-yard line and kicking it through the end zone. So those things that have been changes for the betterment of the game.
As a linebacker, I'm correct on that, right? You played
Yes.
Outside linebacker?
Yeah,
So
I played all.
yeah, I'm sure you've dealt your fair share of punishment, but
Yes.
while giving that out, did you have did you suffer any concussions yourself? Hit somebody so hard or you got blocked or, whatever.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I suffer from some concussions in practices in the game. Things may get a little droggy, but we were taught to fight through it. But yeah, I probably had about 5 or 10 concussions.
Do you think that affects you now at all?
Yes, I would say yes.
And then, do you think it's still that way? Do you think they still play through it, or do you think there's more of an awareness to say, hey, this guy seems a little groggy, or like you were saying, let's get him out of there. Let's sit him down for a minute.
Yeah, there's so much awareness now with all of the cameras, and people are looking for that. When someone you can tell if somebody is moving slow or they're kind of leaning to the side like they're going to pass out, they're out of there. And they have a protocol, so that has really helped the game.
Yeah, good. Man, you guys hit hard, though. I can't even imagine. Yeah. I couldn't imagine playing 1 year against a guy like you. So going back to the other injuries, do you feel those now? Like, that's the toe, the ankles, the elbows. Yes. And so if you wanted to go out and play a round of golf, right? Let's just say, aside from the knee, you just had that, so I'm sure you're resting for a little bit. But let's say last year you wanted to go out. Did you have to do any preparation, knowing that your elbow may flare up or that toe if you turn the wrong way? It's going to
Absolutely. You
flare
have
up.
to have the right shoes. You have to have the right. First of all, it's not going to happen if I'm not in a cart and I can sit in the cart, the whole time. And then making sure can't be out no longer than an hour and a half at a time because you're going to swell up and the next day is worse. That evening and the next day, you're pretty much bedridden, those type of things. Yeah, I suffer from that a lot.
So, do you limit your outdoor activity because of it?
Yes, yes, you have to. I mean, no, I stopped playing any like sports like basketball probably in my early 40s, 50s. Everything has been shaved down to just biking, yoga, those type of things because of the inflammation you'll have the next day and just the pain that you're in because of the astroturf.
Are there any stadiums now that still have AstroTurf? I know they had come out with a new synthetic grass with the,
Yeah,
the, the beads and stuff.
yes. I've never had a chance to run around on that, but it looks like it's a little bit more forgiving to your body. But when we played on it, I'm pretty sure you heard the horror stories of guys bouncing off the ground. Half of it just was carpet and cement. It was tough.
It was at mostly Houston. Houston was the
Yeah,
biggest culprit
Minnesota.
there.
Don't forget about the
Oh,
Metrodome.
Minnesota.
Yeah, it
That's
was
right.
it was terrible too. And then later in the season, practicing on it, it was hard.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. That's kind of like throwing an outdoor rug over a slab of cement on the
Yes.
lanai, trying to play football out there.
Yeah.
But so getting back to your injuries and how you cope with those now. You look like you're still in good shape. Do you work out?
I do things like yoga. Before my surgery, I ride my bike. I probably was riding 80 miles a week and doing yoga 5, 6 days a week and making sure that I can control my diet and eat the right things so that it keeps inflammation out of your body and getting the proper rest.
Would you say what would you say between yoga and bike riding of course bike riding is going to be good for the cardio for the
Yes,
heart and stuff like that. Would you say those would be exercises you would recommend over?
absolutely. Low impact exercises that is going to help you, with the breathing, and so that you don't damage the cells in your body, and also being able to recoup so that you can do it consistently.
And when you say low impact, you mean like running is just tough on
Yeah.
your legs
No.
and your
Can't,
knees.
can't do no jogging at all.
Yeah.
Some walking, some light walking, but biking and yoga is my go-to exercises because I would have too many aches and pains to do other things.
So if you had to give advice to, let's just say, the guy who played, maybe some high school football and probably doesn't, have, gone through the bodily harm that you put on yourself, if we can call it that. What would you say to them? You have a guy's 50 years old, maybe he plays some high school football, but it wasn't as active in sports as you were. What would you tell him going forward how to take care of his body now so he can still get out on the links when he's 60,
Yeah.
65 years old?
I would say, dieting is big, making sure you get your right rest, keep yourself hydrated, and do something that you enjoy, that you can do every day that brings you the best joy. And also, talk to your professionals if you're experiencing pain and address your pain and, don't try to mask it or try to hide it.
That's a good point because a lot of people they don't want to admit it. They just want to
Right.
fight through and
Yes.
act like the guy who's in the best shape out of their group,
Yes.
to force them on the golf course. Like, that doesn't bother me. That's a great point. Take care of it now.
Yes.
So going forward, so you retire from the NFL, and then you start Empower Me Inc.
Yes.
That was your first venture.
Yes, Empower Me Inc. We're in our 20th year now. It's a company that works with individuals with cognitive and developmental challenges. And what we do is we do independent living skills so that they can be functional in their homes and that they can also be independent of their families if they choose to be on their own in their own homes.
So how did you get involved in that? Is that a personal thing? Did you
Yeah,
grow up?
early right out of playing professional football, I was in the restaurant business, in the manufacturing business, food manufacturing business. And after about 11 years, I was like, man, this got to be something more meaningful than this. So I started thinking about service because I was raised by my grandparents and they always taught me the the importance of serving. So when I started putting other people before me and doing something that's greater than just chasing money, it changed my life.
But why autism? Like, what
Autism,
drove you there?
because everyone has a learning style, and even me, in the way you take in information. And some people, there are auditorial learners. There's some people are tactile learners, and learning that and studying that, it let me know that everybody have a learning style. So even though you're born cognitively with challenges, everyone has value and everyone is special.
And what's the website, just so I don't forget to add it?
Actually, we're just Facebook. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn. So it's Empower Me on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and also Urban Village Family Services.
And Urban Village, we'll add the links on the page when we post the video. So Urban Village Family Services, what is that exactly?
It's a more like a wraparound services for those once they emancipate from high school and want to be independent and connect with services in the community. And that's mainly for job services, career services, independent living, benefits, planning, and all of those things for succession for moving on in their lives as individuals get older.
And that's really big. So when you have somebody like you, and I think, if I might for a second, give my thoughts on that. I think that's the biggest issue there. Is they don't have somebody to give them those services.
Right.
Or to even let them know, like after high school, you have a chance to go to college, or you have a chance to go to a technical school, because you're brought up not even knowing those things. You're brought up to like, well, my mom went to work, in the middle of high school because she had to, or,
Yes.
And I think that's one of the important factors. So if you're born to a specific family, you have those networks, you have parents who went to college, and they can lead you through that process.
Right.
Now, if you grow up in a family, which I did, where college wasn't even talked about because it was if you make it through high school, great, but you get a job. Most of us didn't. We started working in high school, and I had to help out with the family and things like that. So I think that's a very important thing for most urban communities, is having somebody who can bring them through those processes, let them know what's available for them,
Right.
let them know that they can have a better life and get out of those situations that they've grown up in.
And the information, information is power, and letting the families know, even though you might be on SSI or SSDI, you can also navigate through your life and keep your benefits and your medical benefits. And a lot of times families don't know. So we share that information with families so that they can make informed decisions about their loved ones.
Yeah, and that's another big thing, because you hit a certain level, you lose those benefits.
Yes.
But if you go too low, you can't live.
Yeah,
so you have to find a happy medium in there,
Right.
and that's a great service.
Yes,
that really is in many aspects of it.
Yes.
But like you said, the information alone.
Yes.
I can do that.
Yes.
I can go to college. I
Right.
can do this. Yeah, that's huge.
That's
and then Stop Six Reality.
Stop Six.
You're a busy guy.
Actually, Stop Six is Stop Six Realty.
Stop Six Realty. Let me start that again.
And it's a small real estate company that in here in the Stop Six area, 20 years ago, when no one was paying attention, I started buying property, and now we have mixed use properties, we have vacant lots, we have commercial, residential, and those things we can actually house our students, create opportunities for families, and it's a good way for passive income outside of football.
That's awesome. That's all mostly in your area of Texas?
Yes, sir. Yes.
What part of Texas are you in?
I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. Yes.
How do you like the new stadium?
I love it. It's amazing.
I got to go to the old stadium one time, right before I think it was the last year that they played in the old stadium. I got to go one time. I'm not a Cowboy fan, but I have friends who are really big Cowboy fans, so we made a trip out there for that. Haven't been to the new one yet, but I'm a Yankee fan. I hate the Yankee Stadium. Hate it. I love the old stadium, the nostalgia, everything that was there. So, David, I really appreciate you doing this. We'll make sure we get this information of what you're up to now up on the page, and make sure we kind of try to spread what you're doing. Do you guys take donations there? Is it
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Even though we're a for-profit company, we do take donations because they help us to do more exploratory things with our clients, get them out in the community, help with the transportation, because some families have to be scholarshiped in. So yes, that helps.
So you wanted to talk about, guys and getting out, or what happens to them as they're in pain, and, guys like me, who decided to just not going to deal with it. You wanted to say something on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as an ex-athlete, I think it's very important to where you address the pain and the challenges that you're going through, because we all are in a community to where, and the things that we've done and we love, that it took a lot of work, but once you address that pain, you can be a much more positive person, and then you can help some other people, and you want to also continue to dream. It's okay to play in the National Football League or the USFL, but that was just one dream. Address your situation and continue to dream.
But you touched on a really good point too about mental health, and especially now with the pandemic that's gone on, and people were cooped up for how long? Some people a year. Like I didn't want to leave the house. I was definitely afraid. I'm 52 years old. I mean, that's not that old, but at the same time, I don't have the body of a 19-year-old where I could fight that thing off. So that was a really good point with the getting out there, getting it taken care of, and getting out of the house. You have to
go serve someone. Don't chase money. I always say Q plus MA equals C. The quality of your service versus the quantity of your service versus the mental attitude it is rendered equals compensation. So go serve somebody.
David, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Fred talked to you about the community we've started for Pain Resource.
Yes.
If he sent you the invitation, please sign up. I'm sure people would love to ask you some questions after this too.
Yes, I'll spread the news.
All right. Thanks again, David.
All right. Appreciate you.